Welcome back to the show, everybody. IGN Live at Gamescom 2016. I'm Damon Hadfield. I'm here with Bio, who is a PvP designer on For Honor. This is Ubisoft's upcoming Knights versus Samurai versus Vikings combat game.
Yes, exactly.
We're going to take a look at some PvP gameplay in a second here, but this is your new trailer that you guys have brought to Gamescom showing off the factions, is that right?
Exactly. So now we can see the Viking factions. We showcase all the characters for the first time here at Gamescom. We show the 12 characters of For Honor. So you can see the Viking factions here, and now we can go into the Samurai faction. You can see very different environment, all the characters, 4 characters per faction.
Right. Yeah. Each of the factions, Knights, Samurai, and Vikings, each have the 4 elite warriors, is that right?
Exactly. So you're basically the elite force of your faction. When you go onto the battlefield, so you select one of the 12 heroes that you can customize deeply. Each one has its own progression, set of armor, weapon, everything. And then you can go into the battlefield either in the campaign or with PvE or in PvP.
And those characters are vanguards, assassins, heavies, and hybrids?
Exactly. This is the 4 types of heroes. So basically each faction has one of each type. So it's not classes, really more playstyles. So they have different feats, which are special abilities, different abilities, combos that really showcases those types of heroes. Like you can see an assassin right now. She's extremely agile. She's called the Peacekeeper. These are 2 vanguards, and this one is a heavy. It's incredible. So yeah, it's pretty obvious about this class. So this is very cool because it can allow you to select a team that has a balanced composition to be able to fill all roles on the map depending on the mode that you're playing.
Well, the Vanguard, what's the Vanguard like? Is that your all-rounder?
Yeah, Vanguards are all-rounder, and they're extremely good to fight against multiple enemies, especially in the campaign. Or in Dominion mode, we have what we call the front, whereas there are multiple soldiers clashing against each other. So you have big AoEs attack. They're pretty good with that.
I think we're going to see some Dominion mode in a second.
Nice.
Tell us quickly about the hybrid class then.
So the hybrid are more advanced heroes. Well, type. So they are more advanced heroes. They have combos that can do lots of displacement, some bleeding attacks. So they change the position of enemies. They're really cool to have in a team, but they require a bit more skill to be able to handle them.
So do you have a favorite?
Yes, my favorite is the Berserker. He's the Viking assassin. I really like him.
Interesting.
So now we are following an Orochi. This one is the Samurai assassin, obviously. And we're in a game of Dominion. So Dominion is a objective mode where we have 3 control zones, 2 classic zones that you capture like this one. And on the bottom of the map, this map is the Overwatch map. You can see this is what we call the front, where lots of soldiers will clash against each other. So the goal is to control the zones, so you make points over time, but every time you kill an enemy, you make points also, and there's some subtleties in the scoring, so how to score points. So we just saw here a throw, extremely deadly and useful. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so what's interesting is we have 2 teams, but I'm seeing characters from each of the 3 factions.
Absolutely. It was a decision we took earlier on when we decided that each hero will be very different from one another. It's not a different skin on the same move sets for all the assassins, all the vanguards. They are very different. So we really wanted a player to be able to play all the characters, all the heroes, and especially we want you to be able to play with your friend and not have to betray your true faction. So for example, my husband is a samurai and I'm a Viking.
I see.
We would have been heartbroken that we couldn't play together, you know? But since we actually decided to open the factions in a game or in a group with your friends, so now you can play as a samurai with Vikings, with knights.
Everybody's getting along the way it's meant to be.
Yes. Well, it's for PvP only because in the campaign, obviously, you will delve way deeper in the fantasy of all those 3 factions and see more about how they behave, what the conflicts against each other is, and why did they come to that point of complete annihilation of each faction.
And then each player can pick whichever character they want to play as, right? The Vanguard, Assassin, Heavies, Hybrids are all open from the beginning.
Yes, whenever you start For Honor, you have all maps, all modes, all heroes. It's really a complete package. You don't have to, it's not a piece-by-piece game. So you really have the complete package. However, each hero has its own progression, like I mentioned before. So at the end of a game, you get gear, XP, you can unlock different abilities for your hero. So that means whenever you play with the Orochi, which is that guy, the Samurai Assassin, well, you only get gear for the Orochi at the end of the game.
Okay.
So that means after a few hours, your hero, your Orochi, will be way more geared than any other of your heroes. So you can have multiple hours of progression between each heroes and try to. Oh, this is a drop attack. I really like that.
Nice.
It's pretty nice. So you have lots of hours of progression between all the 12 heroes, and you will be encouraged to try all of these so you can get new gear, new stuff, try the new abilities and new customization options like colors, pieces of armor, paint patterns, and so on.
Yeah, so to clarify, each player will have their own profile, and you can play as all these different characters, but you're earning experience for that specific character while you play.
Yes, exactly.
And then in between rounds, you can spin that on new, is it abilities, customization options, just
Totally.
for that character?
Totally. So you unlock what we call feats. You can see them on the lower left side of your screen. They are basically abilities. In a game, you unlock them with what we call renown. So it just used, by the way, a smoke bomb, which is a unique feat to the assassin samurai. So you unlock those feats that are special abilities, and then whenever you play the game and you get more XP, you can get new feats that you can equip for that game.
So what are some other examples of the feats?
Oh, there's some awesome ones. The Vanguard have a catapult strike for the knife action, for example. So you call a big catapult strike. You have healing for your friends. You have buff, debuff. You can have also an ability that buffs the soldiers. Yeah, these are the executions. Yeah, executions are very good, and they give you extra renown, which is a thing that unlocks feats in a game. So these are example of feats. So you also have a stun grenade for the first one that you see here. Some prevent you from bleeding. Some give you more stamina. So it really it depends on the way you want to play your character. So you can the fourth one here is a big what do we call it, the blood trap.
Okay.
So whenever someone gonna walk in it, is gonna get hurt and bleed for all his HP slowly over time. So all the characters have those different feats, and some of them are shared between types, and some are shared between factions.
And are the executions based on which character you're playing? Like, does each character have their own executions?
Oh yes, of course. They have their own execution, and it prevents you from being revived by your friends. So it's extremely cool in a mode, for example, like Elimination, which is a mode where you have only one life. So your goal is to eliminate the enemy team, but without respawning ever. But you can be revived by your friends. So using an execution prevents them from reviving. It's a very important strategic element, but it takes time, and someone can interrupt you while you execute someone.
I see. So we're watching a Dominion game here. That's what, one of 5 multiplayer modes?
Exactly. We have 5 modes. We have the Dominion, which is this one, objective game mode. We also have Elimination and Skirmish, which are 2 more deathmatch modes. Elimination, as I mentioned, you have only one life, and it's a best of 5 rounds. And in Skirmish, it's really like a deathmatch. However, the way you score points depends on the target you chose. So if you choose a target, for example, the guy that just killed you before, you get extra points. Okay. But you're also worth extra points for him. So you really got to select your target carefully. And we have 2 duel modes, 1v1, and Brawl, which is a 2v2 duel, which is one of my favorites, because really choosing your team composition and positioning. Do you join with your friend and gank up on one of them? Do you dispose of your enemy and go join him afterwards? It's really interesting to see how different heroes will work with each other in Brawl. So it's one of my favorite modes for sure.
There are also a lot of AI characters, at least in this mode. Are all the modes like that? Even so like in a duel, is it just the 2 players, or are there also AI characters?
So we decided piece by piece for the modes. We did some playtest with both situations, with AIs, without AIs. And we kept AIs for the Dominion, obviously. They're extremely important in the middle of the map. They are their own ingredient. But we also kept them for Skirmish. Whenever you're searching your target, you can get some extra points by killing some AIs on the map between looking at them. And also there are some feats that regen you whenever you kill a soldier, for example. So we kept them in that mode. But in duel, it's really pure. It's whenever you are only with your opponent. It's one-on-one. It's completely deprived of feats, and there's no AIs. It's really the best warrior wins.
I see. Now, I know you've talked about this before. Could you give us a recap on how the combat system works?
Yeah, of course. So we call our combat system the art of battle, and it's basically based against 3 senses. So whenever you use your right stick, you can position your weapon on the right, top, or left stance. So this is really crucial to understand that whenever you're going to position your weapon at that position, you block at that point, at that position, but you also attack from that position. So whenever you're going to face an opponent, well, you have to look at him to anticipate where he's going to attack you, to be able to block his incoming attack and attack yourself where he's not blocking. So this is the core of it, but on top of that, we have lots of different abilities like dodges, guard breaks, which is grabbing an enemy and then you can throw him away or hit him at that point. Chains that are similar to combos attacks, displacement, so there's a lot into it, but really the basics is those 3 stances, and every hero shares its own take on those 3 stances.
I see. You also have added split screen local multiplayer, right? Which
Yes,
I know a
on
lot
console we do have split screen.
I know a lot of gamers are going to be really happy about that.
It's getting rare games that do that, but for Honor, the feeling of being a band of warriors was so important for us that we wanted to support all types of players that wanted to play with their friends. And again, the same philosophy why we have multiple factions in a game. So it's really how do we have people play together the game, because it's really where it shines the most, even though the campaign can be played in single player and it's extremely rewarding. The multiplayer mode shine really well whenever you play with friends, especially in Dominion. Coordination is key to win a game. But split screen was from day one something that we wanted to have, and we're extremely happy to be able to give it to you right now at launch, I guess.
Yeah, people are always limiting the fact that there are so few split screen multiplayer games these days.
Well, it comes with its impacts. But since we planned it from day one, we were able to work it into the game in a very organic way and in the code quite easily.
Yeah, well, we were following the blue team who lost that match.
Yeah, you don't always win. You don't always win. But it was a very tight game. At the end of every Dominion match, whenever a team has over 1,000 points, the other team cannot respawn. So you really have to finish the job yourself. It's never only about points. It's always about fighting.
Yeah. So you obviously spent a lot of time playing PvP.
Yes.
For Honor.
I do every day. But what's cool with the team of For Honor, every Friday we actually spend an hour. All the team has to stop working and play the game for an hour. And that's great because we can hear the feedback of everyone. And since we've been hands-on since last year, I've had tons of feedback from the community, and it helps me balancing my game.
We should be getting more feedback in September when you have a closed alpha. Is that right?
Yes, and I hope people would register because I need them to be able to tweak the game. This is my bread and butter, basically.
The closed alpha runs from September 15th to 18th. Then the game will be out next year on February 14th.
Yes, Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Perfect game.
Thank you very much.
Bio, thank you so much for coming by the show.
That was a pleasure.
Stay tuned. More to come from IGN Live at Gamescom 2016 after this.